The night passed and the day of the conference was afoot. We headed to the venue. It was Benimaru, Sally, Shuna and I. Everyone put on their respective outfits, all looking dashing. And of course, all of our weapons were stored in my stomach. On the surface, we would appear unarmed. I had not the slightest sense of unease, having obtained much information from Hinata beforehand. Someone seemed to want to exploit our nation. But that wouldn't pose an issue for us joining the council. If this allowed them to acknowledge us as a part of humanity, it would be one step closer to building the ideal society in my head. To form a relationship where both men and monsters can prosper and build a world on top of that. Quoting Myron, it would be a circle of common prosperity for men and monsters. On the monster side, we'd already established such a relationship among Magians, dwarves, elves and many other races. This alone created a huge economic circle, but I was a human once myself, that's why I wanted to prosper along with humans. However, humans were greedy. Unlike monsters, they cared too much about gains and losses, and were naturally xenophobic. But at the same time, because of their greed, their standards of living had been raised as a result. That was an undeniable fact. They have also become the source of power that pushed forward the entertainment industry across the world. Unlike monsters, humans weren't simple beings. Humans were complex. I probably shouldn't have high hopes and expected everything would go smoothly from the get-go. When we arrived at the venue, a number of councilors had already been waiting for some time. They began to greet us. They all seemed to come from nations that neighbored ours. Or perhaps they had heard things from the participants of the founding festival, which prompted them to come and establish some friendly relations with us. I was very happy to hear how they praised our men. As I responded kindly to their proposals for the future, they seemed to be reassured and began to smile. Wahaha, I've heard that your Majesty Rimuru is a demon lord. I never imagined you were so easygoing. Let us continue our friendship in the future. You are all too kind, this is my wish as well. In the future we will be holding events once in a while, as well. For those who are interested, do come and join us. During the festival, many people were still very afraid of us. But now they had warmed up and were willing to have discourse with us. This was all thanks to Rigard, Meyer Miles and the others' diligent efforts. Because of this, I was cheered up greatly. And even though Hinata warned me a ton beforehand, by the current look of this, there really wasn't any need for me to worry. But just as I thought so, my mood was suddenly turned with the arrival of the next group of people. You lot, stop troubling Rimuru Dono so much. Bunch of petty small nation scrubs with no real substance. What gave you the confidence to have spoken with him for so long? Ha, that's right. What a rude bunch. Rimuru Dono might get the wrong impression of the council. Know your place and beat it already. And just like that, a group of arrogant councilors showed up and chased away the people who were chatting with me. He's the rude one. I really wanted to say that, but I managed to hold myself back. Sae had informed me via telepathy net that the people who had just arrived had a rather powerful nation supporting them. The council claimed that all councilors were equal, but it seemed that these people weren't exactly abiding by that rule. These people also saw their actions as justified, seemingly not feeling any guilt for their actions at all. There was indeed a class difference as the result of their identities. Good day to you, Rimuru Dono. Chatting with those people surely couldn't have been constructive. Good day to you too. What constructive topic were you referring to? Well, I didn't really want to talk with these people. I still decided to cooperate and give him some room to back off. Don't beat around the bush now. How would Rimuru Dono understand if you put it that way? Hahaha, you have a point. I see that Rimuru Dono is unfortunately devoid of noble etiquette. That allow us to teach you in the future. I merely replied out of courtesy, yet their responses had sounded really malicious. To be honest, these people's attitudes were way too natural. It's hard to tell if they really had ill intent or not. At the same time, they also seemed a bit too casual around me. I suppose it was better than them being afraid of me, right? By the way, Rimuru Dono, I heard that you were building some interesting things. Indeed, I heard that you were developing something called a Mogi train. We totally would approve if you would export this item to our nation. Yes, that's our thought exactly. We can give you our aid, but of course, for a price, but it would seem inappropriate to continue. How should I put this? I was a bit astonished. That was way beyond just rude. I was thinking that I should act with a bit of humility since these were nobles that I was dealing with. However, it seemed that I had miscalculated. They had a huge misunderstanding because of how I've handled this. But this was their domain, after all. If I didn't play nice enough, things might turn problematic. I shall forgive them with my big heart. Since I'd promised Hinata with confidence, I couldn't get angry at this point. The Mogi train can't be used without laying down the tracks first. Moreover, all of the construction plans have been pre-planned, so we can't exactly export them, just because there are demands. Oh, never mind such details. I have already informed my home nation about it. All you need to do is to allow us to import the merchandise. Looks like they hadn't even seen the actual thing and misunderstood. They didn't even seem to know what a Magi train was, so our conversation had been completely pointless. Moreover, they were giving us demands one-sidedly without even considering our opinion. But I still chose to endure this time. No. I've already told you, there are sequences too. I suppressed my inner rage and tried to refuse them, but these people didn't know when to stop with their demands. Then we wouldn't mind switching to a different merchandise. We would love to purchase a large quantity of weapons and armor, so please help us arrange it. And of course, don't forget to show some appreciation when the transaction is completed. Among the noblemen, the man with a big beard representing the Duchy of Lacria was especially annoying. He seemed to have even implied that we should bribe him. I seriously questioned whether he had forgotten the fact that I was a demon lord. The nations neighboring the Great Jura Forest were subjected to the threats of monsters, while the nations located in the inland of the continent enjoyed peace and prosperity. It must have been because of the riches of these nations that they didn't consider the demon lords a threat. But I must say, these people were really annoying. The fact that I'd been trying to respond to them seriously made me look like an idiot. By the way, how did you educate that person called Miles? My contact went to deal trades with him, yet he has been pending without any response. Is it possible to change the correspondent? You're really annoying, you know. I really wanted to yell this at him. So Miles had been dealing with this type of people all this time. He must have had plenty of hardship hiding this behind my back. Even though he seemed to have handled them with ease, surely it was still very annoying to deal with. I gotta learn more from him in the future. I will handle this properly. Apart from saying so, I also gave them a smile. Japanese was a very beautiful language. Handle it properly. Apart from what this line meant literally, there were no deadlines as to when the matter would be done. I never commented about how soon I'd handle the situation. It was the equivalent of not promising anything. This was a neat trick often used by the super elite Japanese bureaucrats. Now I could play dumb and make it through, as well as refuting this whole ordeal. What an excellent strategy. Oh, that's certainly reassuring to hear. We will be looking forward to it. Then, please allow us to excuse ourselves. Regarding the merchandise, we can provide you aid at any time, please feel free to ask. Looking forward to our future interactions. Completely fooled by my words, those idiots left with satisfied smiles. Now that was a mature response. If you want to buy it, just come and buy it yourselves. Indeed, we will be in your care when that time comes. I replied with some disingenuous lines and saw these councilors off. What a troubling bunch. There was no need to sell our goods to these guys, it was much more pragmatic to sell them through the Freedom Association. There were even more benefits, and the fact that the association hadn't told us to bribe them was a definite win for us. The other councilors began to close in on me, but I only greeted them briefly before leaving. Chatting too long with them may lead to some unnecessary trouble. My mood had already been ruined this early into the morning, but I suppose that's an experience as well. Had there been a problem before the meeting even started, there was no telling just how much Hinata would scold me afterward. It was best to just avoid all the squabble with them. We entered the venue soon after. Rimuru-sama, is it really okay to just let them go like this? Those arrogant bastards. Benimaru asked me after we were seated following the council staff's guide. Seeing me endure the encounter just now, Benimaru seemed to have restrained himself as well. I was going to complain about it to him, but someone spoke before I could. It was Sae and Shuna. Don't consider yourself to be on the same level as Rimuru-sama. Those were just haunting words of unimportant mobs. How could Rimuru-sama be troubled by them? That's right, Ani-sama, Rimuru-sama's heart is broader than the whitest sea. To think he would hold a grudge against insignificant characters like those would be most foolish. Oh. I suppose I could only play along now that I've been praised like that. I suppose. Benimaru, you are still too naive to be pissed off by things as minor as these. Even though I put it so nicely like that, I was still furious in heart. However, now that Shuna and Sae had misunderstood the situation and given a better explanation instead, I could only continue to push things in that direction. I put on a pretense and lectured everyone. And so, some time passed by. Some chairs were set up in the manner of a paper hand fan. We were sitting on the seats meant originally for the Speaker of the Council. To put it simply, we were situated at the guard of the hand fan, where everyone could see us. There was another table and an additional chair. Benimaru and the others stood behind me awaiting orders. The Speaker of the Council, who was hosting the event, was transferred to the safety of the second floor. The so-called safety measure was meant to counter us. Since I was a demon lord, after all, people were still on guard against us. All the eyes of the councilors were now on us. It was rather uncomfortable sitting like this. And so, the council conference began, but this was the start of the true hell. Because I tried to play smart and made all the big claims, now I couldn't get angry even if my belly were filled with rage. I had to endure the entire thing, listening to the councilors speaking. I'd asked Hinata beforehand about the content of the conference.